It's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg.
Hi, I'm Jesse Goldberg.
And I'm Lisa Harless.
And welcome to the show. Today's guest is Pat Shea from the YWCA.
It's nice to be here.
As opposed to the YMCA.
Yes, and you know what, Pat, that's probably a great place to start to help all of the viewers out there understand the difference in the YWCA and the YMCA.
What you do is turn it upside down, turn the M upside down.
Oh, there's so much more to it than that, Jesse.
More than that?
It's not just a fanatical thing.
That's right.
It's a mission thing.
It is a mission thing. The YMCA is where I work out every day, and the YWCA is where I work every day. We, the YWCA, really focus on women and the empowering of women and providing services to help women be more self-sufficient and better take care of their families.
YMCA doesn't do anything like that?
The YMCA focuses on, I think, spiritual growth and physical growth and emotional growth, and they serve a large, broad population, but we're a social service agency. We don't do any swim and gym. That's not what the YMCA does.
Can I be a member of the YWCA?
Yes, you could be a member of the YWCA.
Oh.
By making a financial contribution, and that would be a delight.
And he could do that before we leave
He
tonight.
could do that right now. That would be great.
I meant, could men be members of the YWCA?
Yes, men are very involved in the YWCA. We actually have some men on our board. We have an advisory board, and we provide services to men. Our GED classes are open to both men and women in Davidson County. And if a man caught us with a domestic violence issue, which does happen, we provide service. So.
You know, as we entered Peg's studio a few minutes ago, we saw the information about the GED program.
Yes.
So that might be a good program to start discussing tonight.
I love our GED program. It really helps, I think, Nashville. There are over 90,000 adults in Nashville, working or living, who don't have a high school diploma. And that is a substantial population. I didn't know that until I really got into this business. So we offer free GED, 5 locations.
90,000 in Nashville, the Nashville area?
In Nashville, in Davidson County.
Wow,
well,
that
there's
is
only
staggering.
like, what, 500,000 people?
Right. Well, today we're talking about between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 of our high school students don't make it to graduation.
What if you count kids, and that's even more? What if you take kids out of the mix, and then of adults, 90,000 adults?
90,000
or 90,000 people?
90,000 adults. 18 years of age and older is the estimate for Davidson County.
That's got to be at least 1/3 then.
It's
if
about
you take rid of the kids.
Yeah, it's about 1/4. It's a lot. It's a huge problem. And I know that our mayor and the school system's working hard on fixing their part, but what we do is we sort of stay back and deal with those people who can't go back to high school, but still need to get a GED.
Right.
And we do provide men and women, and it is totally free. We're real convenient, 5 locations, 6 days a week, morning, afternoon, and evening.
6 days a week? How do you, can you get that started? You just go in there and say, I want to take the GED review course or something?
Absolutely.
You just go in and start?
Yes. You come to the Woodmont Boulevard location, which is our main office.
Right.
You test so that we can figure out where you are.
Right.
If you're a fast track, so if you score at a certain level, we actually put you in a very specific class to get you in and out.
Okay.
As adults, you know, people don't want to hang out for any longer than they need to.
Right.
And then if you score below that, we put you in a normal class, and the teacher really fits her teaching to your learning needs.
How long is a slow track? How long is a fast track?
Oh, geez. We have had people in the GED class probably for a year, but we've had people in and out in a couple weeks. It's very individualized. The people that come and stay longer normally have issues with English language or maybe with math and weren't educated in the United States. But we could get a 15, 16-year-old high school dropout who's now 21. He comes in, he tests, he prepares, and he can be in and out of there in 6 weeks.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
You know, we just had a country music entertainer that has gotten her GED, Miss Gretchen Wilson.
Yes.
And she's been had quite the format for letting folks out there know that no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in your work life, you can go back to school and do that. And she really wanted to prove to her daughter that mommy could get her GED. And you know what GED stands for?
Yes, good enough diploma.
Not quite.
What?
General educational development.
Yes.
Is that right?
That is
Oh,
right.
I thought it was
Yeah.
good enough diploma.
Also.
Jesse's funny guy.
Yeah. You know what I think is interesting, and you just made a great point. The number one indicator of whether someone will graduate from high school is whether their parents have graduated from high school, and in
Okay.
particular their mother. So it's really cool that she took that position.
Right. To set the example for
to
her
set
daughter.
the example. So
It
we
is.
get excited when a woman comes in who has 3, 4, 5 children, because not only are we fixing the problem for her, but hopefully it's going to influence
That's
that
right.
next generation.
Does this cost a lot of money to do this?
For us, it's free for the client, but we raise money, and actually Dollar General
Free
is-
for the client?
It is totally free
How
for
about
the
taking
client.
the test, the initial test?
Everything is free, and in fact, if you score at a certain level, you're eligible for the Hope Scholarship here in Davidson County. So
Great.
you can even go on to college and get help from the state of Tennessee at a certain level. So that's kind of cool. There is some charge, but I think the first time we try to cover that, we do have some repeat people. But
So
G-
if I was a high school dropout, I can come down to your place on Woodmont Boulevard?
Yes.
Where on Woodmont Boulevard?
1608 Woodmont Boulevard.
What's that near?
It's right between Hillsborough Road and Belmont Boulevard. It's
Okay.
a big brick building.
I can come down to 1608
Woodmont.
Woodmont Boulevard
Yes.
and say, I want to study for the GED test, and you'll give me a pretest.
Yes. You fill out an application, and then you take a pretest so we know where you are. And our teachers say that should be your hardest decision, to walk in the door, and then it's our responsibility.
How long does it take to take the pretest?
Couple hours.
Couple hours?
Yeah, it's a timed test.
And the subjects that you cover with the GED are
Math and reading most, so English.
Some science, some social
science,
studies.
yes. And
What is on the GED test? Math, reading, and what else?
social science.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
You have to
it's-
answer questions about who's the president and stuff like that?
No, I don't think those kind of questions are on there.
That's
It's
more to become a U.S. citizen.
Yes.
Which I've just spoken with someone who did that type of testing.
I passed that.
Wonderful.
Good.
I hope so.
Yeah, I got all of them right.
Great.
Every question right. Well, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say is when someone does get a GED, it can change their household income by as much as $7,000 a year. Because if you're entering the workforce without a high school diploma, it's very different than when you enter the workforce with your GED.
I just saw the interview. We were talking about the show that's also filmed out in this area, the CEO Cafe, where Ralph Schultz, who's the head of the chamber, was
Yes.
talking. And he was talking about the criteria that employers are looking at with the folks that they hire. And the education is the number one thing that they're looking at.
Well, is GED, are people better off with a high school diploma or a GED, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
For
And
college, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter for college. That's a great
Right.
point. And GED score is looked at like an ACT score or an SAT score, so
Right.
it doesn't matter. And people think
I mean, the
that-
score of the GED test is looked at?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
For
it's not
college.
just pass, fail.
Well, because of the Hope Scholarship. And I can't remember the level, but if you scored a certain place, you can apply for Hope Scholarship in the state of Tennessee. So
That's
that's
great.
great.
Yes.
That is great. And we really work with our students to get them there. And then we work with them afterwards to help them fill out those applications. We're hoping this is just the first step for most of them.
Right.
It really, it's rewarding. And about a third of our clients, to go back to your original question, are men. So we'll probably provide service to a little over 1,000 adults.
And the
And
service is free to the guests that are coming to seek that help. But then we're going to talk in a minute
What's the
about the
telephone?
fundraising.
What's the telephone number down there?
269-9922.
And you just call that number up and you come down to Woodmont Boulevard and
You don't even have to call us. You can just come down.
just show up.
What are your hours,
Right.
Pat?
We do GED Monday through Friday, morning, afternoon, and evening, and then
Okay.
we're open on Saturday morning at the Woodmont Boulevard office. And you have to start there and take that test there. And then you can pick one of the other locations if it's more convenient.
What's the other location?
Well, one is we're in the new Bethlehem Center in the Youth Center on Charlotte.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're in the Oasis Center in the Youth Center on Charlotte, but we're also across the street at Bethlehem Center. Are you familiar with
Where-
that part of
no,
town?
where's that?
It's on Charlotte just as you're getting into town. Bethlehem Center's been there for 100, and they serve a very specific population, and we teach GEDs to adults.
Is it near the Red Cross?
It's
I know
right by the
that's-
Red Cross.
right
But the
down there in
youth
Charlotte.
center that just opened, we're really targeting 18 to 21-year-olds. We're targeting those kids that are fresh dropouts. And so it's two different populations, not even a half a mile apart. And then we work with Mount Zion Church, we work with the church at Settle Court, we work with one of the libraries.
Is the classes you take, do they have to come every single day?
No, they can come with their schedule in mind.
With their schedule in
They
mind.
come sometimes for lunch. They come sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays. We really try to make it as convenient as possible because our goal is their goal. Get them in and
Right.
out and get that GED.
Right.
Are there a lot of people in each class?
Class size can be between 10 and 18.
So how do you, if you come like, everybody's going to be at different levels, how do you teach somebody?
The teacher works that, she kind of starts a curriculum and gets it going, and if somebody comes in at a different place, she might work with him in advance or work with him to bring him up to speed. We also have great volunteers that tutor directly.
We had Buffy on this show.
Buffy was great.
Okay.
She's a good teacher.
Holton, is that her
yes,
name?
Buffy Holton. She's a great teacher. Her name is Elizabeth, but she's a fabulous teacher.
Right.
Does really great work with our students.
Well, let's talk about something else that the YWC, the domestic violence thing. How does that work?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, gosh. That's an area that I'd love to see us be put out of business, but unfortunately, it's a hotter subject today than it has been in probably years. We run the largest domestic violence program in the state of Tennessee. We have a 50-bed shelter where we take women and children 17 years of age and younger, both boys and girls.
Where is it located? Same place?
Confidential location. I can't give that
Oh,
location.
but if they want to
For the
get
safety of the
But if they
women.
want to get help, they come to the.
They call
place.
our crisis line.
I'll call you. What's that number?
242-1199, and that's an important number.
We should have
242-1199.
had that one.
And it's manned
242-1199.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We answer that phone.
If they call that other number, would they give them that number?
Yes. In
Okay.
fact, if you call that other number, push 1, you go right to the crisis line.
Okay, so let's just go with that number. What was
Okay.
that again?
269-9922.
269-9922.
And that's one that we've been showing on the screen.
Yeah, 269-9922.
Which is great.
Okay.
But our shelter, 50 beds. Women and children can stay for 3 months. It's considered emergency shelter. So they're usually coming because they either are in fear of their lives at that moment when they call us, or they need to go someplace to really create a plan to make a long move. So the stories we hear are awful.
And they usually show up, with a suitcase of a few personal belongings?
Very few things. One story I can tell you is we got a call from a woman and her children that were walking from Brentwood and only had in their hands what they could carry. And another woman talked about coming from Texas, getting to Nashville and living in her car with her 2 teenagers. And she went to the YMCA and they let her call the YWCA.
Okay.
So we're good partners. Last year, we provided 15,000 nights of safety in that shelter. So think about having company
That's amazing.
15,000 times.
You ever have the angry husbands come and knock on the door and say, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?"
See, this is in a confidential location, so they don't
But I know, but
where
they must come
are.
to the YWCA and say, "Where?
Oh, well,
where
that's
are
a
they?"
good
and
question.
start
Do they ever
screaming
show
at
up at the main
Yes,
office?
and it's actually one of our greatest fears.
Sure.
The shelter's locked down. So if an abuser found the shelter, we know how to shut it down and all the women are safe, and we work very closely with the police department and they'd be there in a second. Our office is an open public building. So I always am concerned that an abuser would show up. And we do have people come and try to locate their spouse. They're tricky. And women have to sometimes move from city to city to city to actually finally get away from an abuser.
So what are some of the statistics about abused women? Or do you have some numbers for Nashville? Or?
Yes, and this is really heartbreaking to me. Last year, Nashville had 83 or 84 homicides in total. 10 of them were domestic violence related, and half of those were children.
Oh,
This
my.
year, in 3 months, just in 3 months, we have 4 confirmed domestic violence homicides, and we have 3 pending to be labeled as domestic violence. We know they're domestic violence, but they haven't come out through the police statistics yet. So we
Wow,
could be
that is
looking at
staggering.
7 in 3 months. And it's the economy. Things are tough.
Because folks are getting laid off, the husbands...
Unfortunately, a
And
lot of times the domestic violence ends when the guy is no longer interested in that person and gets involved with somebody else. That's really true, though. You get the guy on another track, and then the woman's safe again.
It's good that you know that, because a lot of people that don't know about domestic violence blame it on the woman. I actually had someone say to me the other day about a woman who'd been murdered.
Right.
What did she do? She did nothing. The abuser is about control.
Definitely.
And what he's, see, it's really good you've done this, because it's hard sometimes to get people to see that he's going to control her, and that's what the violence
She
is
hasn't
about.
done anything to warrant or to ask
No.
for it. Right.
And the control comes in a lot of weird, strange ways.
Checking the mileage on people's cars.
Checking their cell phones,
Right.
threatening them with hurting the dog. I had a woman just recently.
How about this one? Threatening them and said, "Nobody's going to want you. You got 3 kids and they're all little. Who's going to want you? I'm the only one who's going to want you."
Sure, there's emotional abuse when they
Right.
put those mental and emotional
What are you going to do
tactics.
if you're I don't know, 30-something years old and and you have 3 little kids, and you have no education, so you have, you haven't been to high, you never been to work anywhere. What are you supposed to do?
Guess what? Call them.
But the guy makes all the money, and so it's very hard to run away from that, because he's making he's providing everything for you.
Jesse, what's amazing, I have visited the confidential shelter, and those exact situations arise. And then you see them go to the YWCA domestic shelter, and you see the one-on-one counseling. And the first thing is they're helping them with the psychological trauma to go, you know what, you're a good person. You can get skills. We can get you a GED. You can make money. We're going to help you learn to take care of these kids.
What's really amazing.
It happens. I've seen, you've told me the stories.
What's really amazing is how alike they all are. The abusers are almost all the same.
And the victims
and they act
all
exactly
have been
the same.
raised.
Yeah, and the victims act the same too. Not totally, but for the most part, they act the same.
Well, it's been amazing. I saw a video of one of their great success stories, and to see a situation similar to what you're describing, and seeing this woman become so confident, and to get her GED, and to get a job, and go from one level of housing to the next. You're changing lives. You're saving lives.
She is now a senior in college and will be graduating with a degree in design, and is going to be a tailor, and is amazing.
Someone needs to abuse the abuser. That's what needs to happen.
Well, we've got law enforcement.
Someone needs to beat the crap out of the abuser.
That's not our
we leave that up to the
we need like a vigilante, like a Charles Bronson coming out and doing that.
Well,
that would work.
You mentioned a minute ago how tough it is for women to leave when they're financially dependent.
Sure.
And about a year ago, we started a transitional housing program just for that reason, because a woman can stay with us for 3 months, but 3 months doesn't cut the mustard when they're not earning a paycheck. So now, through some HUD money, 10 apartments.
Wonderful.
And women leave us, and for a year, they go to the apartment. We help them with rent and utilities. They have to be employed or in school, and they have to be drug-free. And their children have to be fully in school. And we provide case management and ongoing counseling, help them get their GED, help them get back on their feet. And after a year, they're much more stable.
Sure, and they may have saved a little money from... Did
you know that it takes somebody to leave an average of 6 times before they keep going back to the same guy all the time?
Absolutely.
And that's the big problem, because they go, oh, I love you so much, I won't do this anymore. And then,
or you'll change. I know I can change you.
And it's an average of 6 times they do all this stuff. Go to the shelters and come back. Go to the shelters, come back.
I have.
And it's terrible.
I'm so impressed. You
Jesse
are really knowledgeable about this. We have 45% of our women leave our shelter and go back to their abusive relationships. So you're right. They come and go and come and go. Repeat customers.
Right.
But a woman has to be ready to leave, and it has to be her decision.
Right.
And one thing we don't do is we don't tell women what they should do. We help them, we get them counseling, we teach healthy relationships, we help them get their GED. But when push comes to shove, and that's no pun intended, they have to want to go, because it's hard. It's hard to leave.
We're talking about what happens with a lot of the women who are maybe older and mothers and that kind of thing. I know you guys have some cool programs for the teen girls.
We do.
And this is middle school age
so much
young
fun.
ladies. What do you do for those ladies?
We are in 3 of Nashville's pretty tough middle schools. We're in Jerry Baxter and Ewing Park, where the dropout rates are high and the poverty rate is very high.
What do you mean you're in?
We provide services. We go out and work with middle school girls in those 2 schools and provide programming after school and during the day.
And what's that program called?
It's called Girls Inc.
Okay.
And it's called the YWCA at Girls Inc. But the mission is to make girls strong, smart, and bold. I love that.
I do too.
I think that is all women should be strong, smart, and bold. So I think that's cool. So we work with them on pregnancy prevention, drug and alcohol abstinence. We work with them on physical safety. We just taught a class in self-defense, and then we took them out to Bridgestone Firestone, who's one of the underwriters.
Right.
And they did a self-defense class for a group of about 40 women. It was really cool. We teach them healthy relationships. And so our goal is to get those girls young and keep them out of our shelter and keep them out of our GED. It's kind of like our good work, because the staff feels really excited about being preventive.
I think the more somebody feels self-sufficient about their own self and their own self-confident, the better that they have a chance.
Right, and they're able to resist someone that's trying to penetrate their world and create a violent act.
You can't be abused unless you allow the abuse to happen to you. And those people allow the abuse to happen. I'm not blaming them, but I mean, you just...
They don't have the confidence to go, I'm
Right.
not going to let you do this to me.
Well, and I have come to realize in this job how blessed and how privileged I have been because of the parents I was born to and because I didn't have a choice about going to school or college.
Right.
And I could tell you that from all the women I meet, if I had been born into their lives, I would be in our shelter. So their life does create a scenario that they have to break.
And you have a wonderfully supportive husband, John.
I am his
supportive.
charity.
He is even in the audience cheering us on tonight.
He is so sweet.
So he gets double accolades.
Before we run out of time, let's get to this celebrity auction thing.
Oh, that's exciting.
I
And
love
it's coming
celebrity
up.
auction.
Now, what is that? You've had a lot of famous people who
We have.
who ran
But
this-
we haven't had Jesse yet, so we
lucky.
need to take it up a
I
notch.
know, Jesse.
Yeah.
Will you come, please, this year?
Saturday, June
Saturday,
13th.
the 13th of June. This is our 26th year.
Amazing.
And we have been doing this. We started with Minnie Pearl in '83, and she hosted it for
Amazing.
us.
Had
And
Minnie Pearl, Brenda Lee, Jesse Coulter, Wayne and Jennings.
he's got it
Yes.
all.
I got it right here
And
on the list.
Jesse,
Lynn
they have
Anderson, Pam
raised-
Tillis, Crooked Chase, Kathy Mateo, Charlie Daniels, Martina McBride, Martina McBride, Martina McBride, Martina McBride,
Martina is our
14
savior.
years.
Martina McBride,
Martina
Martina McBride,
McBride,
Martina McBride.
14 years.
She didn't do last year, though.
She was on a family vacation,
Martina
and we
McBride,
missed
Martina
her
McBride.
dearly.
I'm sure.
But John and Martina always make sure that we're well taken care of. But she's in town this year, and she just released her new
album. It's getting great
which I
reviews.
heard did get great reviews. So a lot of good publicity.
She's little.
Dan Huff produced.
She is little, and she is so generous. And
I saw
women
her at
and
Davis
domestic violence are
I saw her
her
at Davis
issue.
Kidd bookstore once, and I said, "Man, she's little." I
But
didn't say
there's power in that.
But I don't know all the
vocal
celebrities
ability.
like Lisa does. You know,
I
Lisa
don't
knows
either.
everybody.
I learn
Jesse,
them.
but you've already raised $1.3 million. What over these past 23 to 25 years?
Yes.
And what is so neat is that their event has kind of been endorsed by the Country Music Association, their big music fest. And last year the attendance was up 9.4%, like 50,000 people a day.
It's a
and so
big
all
deal.
of those folks are funneling through Nashville, and they end up at the Hilton Park, and they come and bid on these hundreds of
Hilton
items.
Park.
They
What's
have
that?
wallets like you
Where's
with
that?
wads of money in them.
That's wads of everything.
It's between the downtown Hilton and the Country Music Hall of Fame, that great grassy area
okay.
that we refer to that as the Hilton Park. And they've had other stars that have stopped by. I know Laurie White and Brad Paisley and Jimmy Wayne that I saw at the ACM.
What kind of stuff at the auction?
Everything and anything. We have done things as strange as someone's toaster.
Oh,
we
my
had
goodness.
the X-ray of someone's broken arm.
I mean, celebrities.
A celebrity
Celebrities.
toaster. And 2 years ago, Martina was getting such, she was just, the fans go crazy when she shows
Sure.
up. She took her shoes off and sold them for $300. Whoa. So she gets into it. She and John always come with some surprises.
What do you think my shoes will go for? They're like brand new. I got them in like
well, you would need
Costco.
autographs
They do
first,
look
and
pretty
then we
new.
could-
Yeah, they're
do.
brand new. It's the first time I ever wore them.
Well, debuting them tonight on your show.
Yeah.
With
We'll take them, see what they get, I'll tell you. We have Stormy Warren that's going to come MC this year
He's
for us.
great. GAC's
So
host,
that's a lot
Headline
of fun,
Country.
a lot of fun for us. But last year, 2 years ago, when John and Martina came, they brought lunch with Faith and Tim, and it went for $10,000.
That was one of your auction items.
That was one of our auction items. And
My.
they offered up a free private recording session in their studio. And it went for
Blackbird
$20,000. So we are very fortunate and very lucky.
And you said you had a pair of Keith Urban jeans.
Yeah.
3,000 or 4,000 there.
This woman almost
I wouldn't
had
want
a
them.
heart attack. She almost died
We
getting
would
those
be-
jeans.
We would be scared if Jesse
I don't
wanted
want
those.
them.
They wouldn't fit you either. I held them up to me, couldn't get in them.
What's this burn the mortgage thing?
Oh, that's great.
What is that?
That's exciting. News.
It is. About 18 months ago, a group of women here in town, Nikki Weaver and Sigourney Cheek, who are two board members and friends of the YW, stepped up to help me get rid of our mortgage that we were carrying on the shelter. And we owed $1.5 million that the board had refinanced over a 10-year mortgage, $175,000 a year in interest and principal. That is a
That's a
boatload.
lot of money.
That is a
That's-
boatload
because
of
you
money.
have to raise all that
I have to
money
raise it
every year.
So Nikki and Sigourney took it on, and we toured Nashville. We talked to more women about this. We were out probably 4 nights a week drinking Chardonnay and doing
Spreading the word.
Yeah, sharing everything we could. And I can't believe it. With the help of some really substantially generous foundations and a whole lot of women, they raised that money, and that I think it was December 15th.
Incredible.
We paid off that mortgage right before the recession. really hit.
Congratulations. That's
You know,
a
those
huge
evil
accomplishment.
bankers are always charging
They're
lots of
always
interest.
coming.
Don't make me come down there,
Those
Jesse.
evil
Don't
bankers.
make me come over
Actually,
there.
our mortgage was with your bank, and they celebrated with us. They were
Yes.
very, very pleased and had been
Well, of course they
extremely
celebrated. They got $1.5 million.
No, you would think they'd want us to keep the loan.
Right, we do
Oh, that's
enjoy
true.
that interest
I know,
income
but
annually.
Tammy, our banker, came, she's calling
Tammy
me going,
Johnson's
woo, woo, woo.
terrific.
And so
Yes.
I think there was just a lot of support. And we didn't even know how smart we were because who could have predicted what was going to happen to the economy
Right.
and fundraising?
Exactly.
So we own the shelter, which is a big deal. It's a beautifully big, needed building, but that debt was wearing us out.
And events like your breakfast yesterday morning.
Oh,
kinda
Jesse, we
helped.
missed you. 550 of our best friends at
And a lot of women.
7:30. Oh, really good looking. I shouldn't say
Single,
that.
somewhere.
Single. 550 people.
I got me a girlfriend.
Okay, then you wouldn't care.
Good.
You wouldn't want to
I'm
have breakfast
loyal.
with
Well, then we want to
550
recruit her to
women.
work at the YW, be involved
Yes,
with
she
us.
would be a good volunteer.
She probably would be.
Well,
So,
what's the...
But
what
you had a big
happened?
breakfast yesterday
yes,
morning.
and we talked about the services of the YW, but we did that through client stories.
Okay,
So instead
like
of me
testimonies.
talking, we had 4 women get up and tell their stories.
How wonderful.
And one woman who'd come to our shelter with her child had been a soldier in the United States Army, had fought in the Gulf War for us, and in her second marriage found out she married an abuser. And so I thought it was really neat that we were able to provide her with some protection.
A soldier married an abuser?
A soldier. And a very brave woman. When she saw what was going on, she didn't want her child to be raised in that environment and came and stayed with us. So that was pretty cool.
And I'm sure when people hear these stories, they open up their wallets and go, how can we help save and touch more lives?
I think they're amazed at how domestic violence looks so much like us. We've had a hospital administrator get up and tell her story about being in an abusive relationship.
You talked about a woman was walking from Brentwood. You don't think about someone
No.
in
We're
certain
almost
areas.
out of time.
Oh, see, we don't have enough time.
Oh,
We need
no,
to-
can I?
This must be part one.
This
we
is
must
part
do a
one.
sequel.
I'll come back after Celebrity Auction.
Why don't
Right,
we
right.
part two?
All right, we got to get going. My name's Jesse Goldberg. This is Lisa Harless. And this is Pat Shea from the YWCA.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week.
Maybe you are thinking that my owners have me spoiled, but let me tell you something. Hope this doesn't sound disloyal. It's a rough life living up to Lassie. It's a rough life trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack, knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life when fleas live on your belly. It's a rough life when people call you smelly. I'm developing a complex, I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life begging for a cookie. It's a rough life